How's it going, everyone? And welcome to the Loaded Cannon. For only the fourth time this season, I'm doing this after a defeat. Crazy, right? We've played a lot of games this season, and we've only lost four. And this one comes against Man City, So I'm not going to be too hard on the team. But as always, if your team is top of the league, hit like on this video because it's hard to be negative, and we have to remind ourselves that yes, it's disappointing to go out the FA Cup, but Arsenal have been brilliant this season, and we're coming away from home against the toughest team we could possibly come up against. Man City are a brilliant, brilliant side. But what was the most important thing today? Obviously, look, the most important thing was getting through. We didn't do that. That was the most important thing with the FA Cup in mind. The most important thing with the Premier League in mind was not getting beaten convincingly by Man City today. Because I think that would have made our confidence shaky. That would have got into the players' minds and would have been potentially really damaging. We didn't do that. More so than that, never mind not getting beaten convincingly. That's quite a low expectation. We've got higher expectations at Arsenal, especially this season. But we competed, and we competed properly. And when you go a level deeper, that's with 6 changes being made to our starting lineup that played our last game in that brilliant win against Man United. And the one thing that I've heard a lot of, and I agree with, I've said myself this season, is that as soon as we deviate from that starting 11, the level drops off considerably. And today we showed, with the additions that we've made, like Trossard coming in, for example, actually, it's not as big of a drop-off. Vieira coming in for Ødegaard and that sort of thing, it's not the same for sure. I get that. But the drop-off isn't as stark as what it used to be. So for me, that's one positive I'm taking out of the game. Talking about the 6 changes, let's go through them, right? So Turner for Ramsdale. He, for me, was a success story. And I have to admit, right, because the USA, they lost the game. USA lost the game recently, I think, to Serbia. I don't know, it was a friendly or something during the last 7 days or something. And you kind of think to yourself, man, the USA, they've got some all right players, but they've got no footballing pedigree historically. And that plays into a bias that I definitely have with American players. And I'm going to admit that. Any American fans watching, get in the comments. And I apologize now, but I'm just being completely honest. Americans don't carry that kind of feeling of expectation that you get with like a Spaniard or a German or an Italian, Frenchman, that sort of thing. It's like American player, you don't expect them to be great. And Matt Turner, not even played at the level that we that we expect in Europe and turn our nose up at if you haven't played at that level. Coming in, I was very nervous about him. But he was really, really good today in many, many ways. As a sweeper keeper, he was brilliant. He was so quick off his line, did that job so well. It gave our defence, our centre-backs, confidence to get up tight and physical against Haaland without worrying about the fact that he's going to have a big patch of grass to run into, make them look silly and bear down on goal behind them. Turner did that really well. He also did, what else he did really well was his distribution I thought was good, and specifically punching the ball from crosses, or dealing with crosses, and often he opted to punch. Thought he did that really well. So Turner, I thought actually did really well. And one of my biggest fears this season is the Ramsdale injury. But just in this game, and I know it's not enough of a sample size to really make a firm conclusion on, but I thought he did well, and I'm really, really happy to see that because it makes me less nervous if Ramsdale gets an injury. Another one was... Another one of the changes was holding for Saliba. And obviously that changed at half time because of the yellow card, which is the right decision. And I found Holding's approach to Haaland quite interesting and one of the more fun aspects of this game, because I'll go into this later, but I don't think the game was fun. It was technical, it was tactical, it wasn't fun, it wasn't exciting. And but I enjoyed Holding against Haaland. It was quite physical, and the yellow card is always going to come. But that couldn't have been done without Turner doing his job, as I mentioned before that. But yeah, happy with Holding, coming in, being physical, and then going off at half-time at the right time. So good management from Arteta. And then we have Tierney for Zinchenko. Now, that was the one that really shocked me. In a game that was always going to be technical and tight. And it wasn't just about the result as well. It was about sizing each other up. I thought Zinchenko was an absolute guaranteed starter for this game because he is that on-pitch manager. He is that tactician on the pitch that does that job where he complements that left-hand side in the way that he does by inverting himself. And I just couldn't believe he didn't start. And then Tierney, unfortunately, was quite sloppy. I don't think he contributed to the game in the way that he would have hoped, I would have hoped. He wasn't the best. And then Tomiyasu, I thought he was nice and solid. No complaints there. Trossard was good without being amazing, but he was still good. And then when Martinelli came on for him, I thought Martinelli was good as well. And I think Martinelli has been off his usual level prior to the World Cup. So I was glad to see Martinelli beating people, getting to the touchline, a bit more variation in his game that I've been begging for. And I actually thought he did well. Maybe that is that sense of competition from Trossard. And then Vieira for Ødegaard. Now, I think we really missed Ødegaard in this game, setting the tempo throughout the game and, just being that dictator of play. Vieira didn't do enough for me. I was disappointed with him. And I get that it's going to be hard for him just coming in for a one-off game. He doesn't get enough minutes, especially away at Man City and dictating the game. But even in individual moments, from Vieira especially, he's got that eye of the needle ability. I'm looking for him to kind of show his moments of quality, like he did against Oxford. I know it's Oxford, this is Man City. But show his moments of ability, just in moments, even if you're not going to do it consistently throughout the game. But he didn't do that. But anyway, when it comes to the subs, look, clearly, I've already talked about holding for Saliba. That was the right decision. But why we've taken off Partey for Lokonga, I don't know. Unless it's precautionary, there was something else that we're not aware of. Then obviously Arteta, I understand it, but I think Partey coming off is actually what made us lose the game, and also how Alvarez exploited the space afforded to him in the centre of the park once Partey came off. If Partey's on the pitch, I don't think Alvarez gets that shot off. But Alvarez changed the game as far as I'm concerned. He did what no one else on the pitch was really doing, and that was taking shots from distance. And also, I think that when Alvarez came on the pitch, your average person, and maybe even the Arsenal players, thinks he's going to play alongside Haaland, that two up front. But he didn't do that. That's where we probably all expected him, but actually he played slightly deeper than that, got into pocket to space. I don't think Lokonga was positionally aware enough, and it wasn't just once that it happened, but Lokonga didn't seem to learn from the fact that actually someone needs to take responsibility for Alvarez. He got that shot off that when Grealish got the rebound as well, man, how well did Grealish do? 8 touches in the box. So many people would have just lashed a shot from that rebound, but he was so comfortable on the ball, did so well, sucked 2 Arsenal players to him. Ake was free, played a really good pass, and then a brilliant goal that I do not fault Matt Turner for at all. Just a really, really good finish. But Alvarez changed the game, and Lokonga as well didn't really cotton onto that. So I was a little bit disappointed. Now, I don't think that happens if Partey's still on the pitch. I feel like he's in that position in front of Julian Alvarez when he takes that shot. But anyway, what can you do? Overall, right, I'm not going to be too negative about this, because I think that Arsenal, with 6 changes and obviously a lot of subs in the game, compared to other games where we barely even make a sub, we actually competed. We did really well. We dealt with Haaland and De Bruyne and Mahrez for large parts of that game. But Man City are just a really, really good team. So if you're going to get a result against them away from home, you need a moment of magic. You need a player to produce something really, really good. And maybe the one time where we did that was probably Granit Xhaka's cross to Eddie Nketiah. That was a brilliant cross. Unbelievably hard for a defender to deal with that. And with the form Nketiah's on, if that gets to him, he scores. But Laporte, again, Man City have got quality all over the pitch. So even in attack and in defence, even if you nearly pull out an incredible cross like Xhaka did, Laporte's intervention there was about one of the moments of the match. It was brilliantly defended. So what can you do? I think Arsenal today showed me that I don't need to worry too much about those Premier League games. Those 2 Premier League games that we've got against Man City, that if Man City win both, really, really starts to create sort of panic stations in the Arsenal camp in terms of protecting the lead that we've got in the Premier League. But Arsenal showed me today, even with changes, we can be competitive. So I'm going to take the positives out of today. Gutted we're out the FA Cup, because I love this competition and I wanted to win this competition. And it's a trophy that, if we got through against Man City, I'd say we're one of the favourites to win on current form. But Arsenal proved something today. We can go, we can compete, and can be tactically on point. Check out my 5 at 5 tomorrow, where I'm going to go into a little bit of detail about my theory on this rivalry and I'd love to know whether you guys agree or not. Let me know what you thought of the game in the comments, and who you thought Arsenal's best player was in the game today. I'm going for Matt Turner. Let me know your Arsenal man of the match in the comments, and I'll see you for my 5 at 5 tomorrow. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Until next time, up the Arsenal.